speaker. Our next speaker. And this is Mr. Danylo Lubkivsky, Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to give the floor to our next speaker, Mr. Danylo Lubkivsky, Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs of Ukraine.
Good afternoon. Esteemed colleagues, I will make two statements in English and in Ukrainian, and I will be ready to answer your question.
Great pleasure to see you here, especially those who speak English. I see a lot of you here. So let me make a few brief remarks with regard to the current situation and developments. So, ladies and gentlemen, this week is of utmost importance for Ukraine. The peace plan of President Poroshenko gives peace a chance. It includes three major parts: ceasefire, restoration, and dialogue. The ceasefire allows Russian terrorists to lay down their weapons and retreat back home to Russia. All hostages must be released. All Ukrainian military personnel, foreign observers, and journalists. Let me say that first 10 Ukrainian militaries have been already released, and that's a good event. Ukrainian cities will be free from terrorists. Mariupol is completely free. Luhansk, Donetsk, and other will be liberated soon. After restoring security and territorial integrity of the country, dialogue is possible. European decentralization of powers has no alternatives. With the assistance of the European Union, Ukraine will restore houses and infrastructure destroyed by terrorists. People of Donbass will have new workplaces and jobs. The peace plan has already been supported by the United States, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, the European Union, the United Nations, the OSCE, and the Council of Europe. So we have the strong international support for the plan of President Poroshenko. Yesterday, on 23rd of June, Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Pavlo Klimkin, presented President Poroshenko's plan at the meeting of the European Union Foreign Ministers' Council in Luxembourg. Today, the minister delivers the plan at the annual Security Review Conference of the OSCE in Vienna. On 25th of June, Minister Klimkin will address the NATO-Ukraine Commission in Brussels. And on 26th of June, President Poroshenko will present his vision at the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. The whole world demands Russia to stop disrupting peace. This is our clear and strong appeal to Russia. Stop the war. Distance from terrorists. Make real steps towards withdrawing terrorists from Ukraine and securing the border. Ukraine unilaterally implements the peace plan. Despite the ceasefire, attacks of Russian terrorists didn't stop. Throughout just 2 recent days, the illegal armed groups made more than 30 attacks at Ukrainian army and border guards before these strikes back. Last night we had 4 new attacks, including 2 railway explosions. Terrorists continue to destroy infrastructure, schools, clinics. They simply do not care about human lives and peace. Not only 2 crucial for Ukraine regions are flooded by heavy artillery and military vehicles from Russia, but also the Kremlin actually confirms a new increase in concentration of manpower and military equipment of the Russian army near our border. Russians have no obstacles preventing terrorists from crossing the border with Ukraine, but they simply do not do that. NATO previously released satellite images indicating that Russia indeed had allowed tanks to cross the border into the eastern part of Ukraine. Russian helicopters violated Ukraine's airspace on several occasions and even landed with invaders. Russia also increased its occupational forces in Crimea. With occupation come problems with freedoms. Today we learned that unknown armed men have occupied a madrasa, Muslim religious school near Simferopol. That's a democracy by Russians. If Russia continues to undermine Ukraine's sovereignty, the West will have no other recourse but to carry on with stronger and more severe pressure against the aggressor, the political regime of President Putin. No illusions, no rest, more pressure on Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, this week is also crucial in terms of signing the economic clauses of the European Union-Ukraine Association Agreement on June 27th. That's a historic event. We welcome plans of the European Union to move forward with signing the association agreements with Georgia and Moldova. And we are happy that our partners and friends are doing this. No country has a veto right over foreign policy choices of other states. That's a principal position of Ukraine. We welcome the decision of the European Commission to launch the second phase of the visa liberalization action plan with Ukraine. It reflects our country's achievements in meeting legislative and institutional requirements of the visa dialogue. The European Union will send a police mission to Ukraine for 2 years, which will greatly contribute to reforms of the system of internal affairs and security services in our country. Last week, Ukraine received first installment of €50 million under the EU relief program. Ukraine appreciates Europe's readiness to hold a donor conference in early July. So, as you see now, we have two agendas: the war agenda and the reform agenda. In a way, they are intertwined and complete each other. Both of them depend on support from the international community. Ukraine is the place to stand. We will stop Russia. We fight not only our own battle, but the battle of all who believe in freedom. I do thank you. Шановні пані та панове, я зроблю кілька.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will say a couple of words in Ukrainian also. The peace plan of the President of Poroshenko has three tasks. The first is to save life of people. Second, to ensure stable conditions for life in the regions which suffered, Lugansk and Donetsk regions. And third is save from aggression the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, to save from Russian aggression. Russian bandits, terrorists, and mercenaries have to surrender and go back to Russia, home to Russia. The hostages are to be freed. Ukrainian citizens who participated in illegal band formings but have no blood on their hands will be amnestied. Restoration of security will allow us to start again the national dialogue about the role of communities in the state. This dialogue could have started 3 months ago. There was only one obstacle to that, and that obstacle has a specific name, and that name is the Kremlin. The Kremlin was the obstacle for the national dialogue in Ukraine. The plan of President Poroshenko is supported by the whole world. The initiatives of our head of the state are supported by the leaders of the U.S., of the Council of Europe, of the OSCE, and other organizations. On Monday, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Klimkin, presented the peace plan at the meeting of the Council of European Union in Luxembourg. Today, Mr. Klimkin is in Vienna, where he will present the elements of the plan at the annual meeting of OSCE on security. Tomorrow, on the 25th of June, the Minister of Foreign Affairs will present the peace plan of President Poroshenko, at the meeting of the Commission Ukraine-NATO in Brussels. Today, as you know, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Germany, Frank Walter Steinmeier, came to Ukraine, and that is also part of the process of peaceful settlement. On the 26th of June, the President Poroshenko will announce his peaceful statement to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. The unilateral ceasefire has become the first step in implementation of the peace plan. The process of settlement is violated by the Russian militants. Russian terrorists are using small arms. They are shooting at the positions of the forces of ATO. During the 2 last days, from the moment after the ceasefire was announced, there were more than 36 cases of violation of ceasefire by Russian militants. These examples demonstrate the real intentions of the militants. Russian terrorists do not care about the life or security of people. The objective of the terrorists is to subvert the Ukrainian statehoodness, peace, and in this region. Together with all the international community, Ukraine demands the real support for the peace plan of the President Poroshenko, the efficient protection of the Ukrainian borders, and also use of all the influence possible on the illegal formations on the border of Ukraine. There are no illusions. Any encouragement of the terrorists will have critical consequences. Russia continues information and economic war against Ukraine. The economic pressure is stronger. This gas blackmail forced to reformat the energy sector in Ukraine. If we want to live in new country, in new state, in real Ukraine, for which we were fighting, for which people gave their lives, we will oppose to this blackmail, this awful barbarian type of blackmail. On the 27th of June, there will be a historic event taking place, signing of the economic part of the association agreement. On Monday, the Council of European Union approved the decision on moving to the second stage of implementing the plan on liberalization of visa regime for the citizens of Ukraine. This week is exceptional for Ukraine. Russian war against Ukraine is doomed for failure. Having a strong political will, also enjoying the support of all the citizens without any compromise with the future, Ukraine is able to win. Thank you for attention. Your questions, please. And the questions, don't forget to introduce yourselves. Liga Business and Forum. Could you please tell, do you know anything about negotiations that took place in Donetsk yesterday with the participation of Kuchma and Medvedchuk? Is participation of Zurabov in these negotiations official confirmation of the participation of Russia in war against Russia? Yesterday there was no negotiation, there was just a meeting in Donetsk, and that is part of the process of settlement. Those who participated in this meeting were the representative of the President of Ukraine, the ex-President of Ukraine, Leonid Kuchma. All the results of this process will be known as soon as possible. The participation of the ambassador of Russian Federation in the process of peaceful settlement
is important. At the same time, the framework of this participation are represented within our understanding of what Russian Federation has to do for the peaceful settlement. In particular, to distance itself from the terrorists, to use all the necessary influence for terrorists to lay down their arms and Russian militants to leave the territory of Ukraine. Other questions, please? Kanevskaya News, Natalia Kanevskaya. I, of course, wanted to In its time, Mr. Shevardnadze said, in order to find the solution, you have first to sit around the table of negotiations. So yesterday's meeting in Donetsk, it is hard to minimize the opportunities of ex-President Kuchma in this process. I think that such things should be repeated because it is these people that have deep knowledge and answers that can lead to the peaceful settlement of issues and stopping of the bloodshed. As far as Crimea is concerned, there is such an information. Well, of course, it is fragmentary that Russia has the intention to offer Ukraine a joint plan. It's hard to choose the word. The plan to work on problems in Crimea. Thank you very much for your question. We have the plan for Russia, how to act in Russia to liberate Crimea from Russian occupation and withdraw troops from Crimea and from Ukrainian borders. I can't think of any other plan. As far as the topic of definitions are concerned, no talks are being conducted. Some meetings are taking place and attempts to achieve the realization of the peace plan of President Poroshenko, which provides for the ceasefire, the liberation of some regions of the east of our state from Russian militants and return to the normal life. If not for Russia, those regions would have lived in a peaceful and calm life for long, which is so needed by Ukraine. Could you tell us, there's an information that in the east of Ukraine, apart from Russian citizens, there are militants from other countries, including Kazakhstan. I have no information on citizens of Kazakhstan. And my last question as a moderator from the Ukrainian Crisis Media Center, the open condemnation by diplomats of all the countries of aggressive acts of Russia in relation to Ukraine and the speech of Mr. Klimkin in the UN, but still we see that Russia does not accept the peace plan because we see further attacks from territories. Can we expect the third stage of sanctions from Europe? How realistic is it? Our priority today is to provide an opportunity to cease fire, to use all the instruments and tools to remove the threat to the lives of peaceful citizens of Ukraine. This is the priority. As you know very well today, there is still some time for the truce, which ends on the 27th of June. This means that the Ukrainian state is creating all the possibilities to peacefully settle this situation. We will watch step by step the development of this situation, and as I have already told you, in case the ceasefire is broken, in case there is still danger and threat from Russia and militants, we will have the need for the next round of reinforced and strict pressure on the regime of Mr. Putin and Russian Federation. We had here Mr. Danylo Lubkivsky. Thank you very much.